What is up, everybody? Neil McDevitt here, and I am extremely excited for this YouTube video. Um, we're having a little change, a little turn of the page. The chapter is changing. The season that we are entering is going to be pretty sick, in my opinion. But anyways, the title of this video is probably going to be something pretty provocative, like I'm building a one-person billion-dollar company or something like that. Which, I mean, that is directionally the goal, but we'll see where we end up, right? But no, absolutely, I think we can go very far with the technology that is coming right now, especially given our position. Over the past year and a half, we've been basically digesting the technology, digesting the paradigm that we're living in right now, and I've been really just like ruthlessly, obsessively studying where we are, gathering information like a crazy person, and then making YouTube content for you guys. So I think we're approaching a point of diminishing returns of that. I think I have solved the logic puzzles that I need to solve in order to take action, and now we're entering the season of action taking, and we're exiting the season of learning. I am extremely excited for this. This is what I've been waiting for this entire time, but given everything that's happening in the world right now, and if you're not aware, you should look into it. Given everything that's happening in the world right now, it's very important for the first time, at least in my lifetime, as an entrepreneur, no matter where you're at, even if you're a beginner, to have a good understanding of the geopolitical landscape, the political landscape, along with the technological landscape, the entire economic landscape, the market dynamics, and the second and third order consequences from all of these systems interacting with each other, extrapolating to the logical conclusion. For the first time ever, at least in my lifetime, this is the only important time that I have experienced where it's actually important to pay attention to politics as an entrepreneur. Usually, if you're a beginner in entrepreneurship, the only thing you should ever focus on is increasing your skills and increasing your dollars. And then maybe one day you have enough leverage to actually affect politics, right? Right now is actually a time where so much is happening, so much change is happening all at the same time, where you need to know a lot of things in order to be put in a really good position with the changes that are happening in the future. Okay, so that being said, that's what the entire YouTube channel has been about, and it has destroyed my, let's say, what is it destroyed? It is destroyed a lot because I've just been obsessed over information gathering. It's ruined my sleep. It's ruined my habits. It's ruined my diet. It's ruined a lot of things. But it's also given me a lot of wisdom, a lot of information, and a very tuned world model for the times that we're living in that I can use to make decisions, which is something I wouldn't trade anything for. But now we're exiting the season of information gathering like a madman and doing like modeling of the information and then really thinking about the information with pretty much all of the mental tools in my tool belt. And now we're entering the phase of purely execution. That's what this video is about. And initially what I need to do, because everything has been pretty screwed up from just like ruthlessly gathering information, like basically what I've been doing is just like I wake up and I instantly start reading books. I instantly start like listening to the interviews of the influential people of this time. I instantly start gathering information from a variety of different sources, and I instantly start like writing my book, because I'm writing a book right now, and I start adding information and really thinking about this stuff. Like a lot of my time is just spent looking at a wall and thinking. And it's been brutal to the sleep. It's been brutal to my habits. It's been brutal to my diet. It's been brutal to my fitness. It's been brutal to my relationships, which is normal whenever you're trying to approach something with sufficient intensity to make good progress. But again, we're at a point of sufficient progress to make decisions. Like the world model that I have developed over the past year and a half, I think is plenty good for us to start tackling the paradigm that we're entering. And for those of you who are not aware, the world that we are entering over the next decade or two is fundamentally different than the world that we live in today, in the world that we have lived in. If you're not aware of this, I recommend checking out the previous content. But if you are and you have been checking out the previous content, you know what's up. Let's get to the actual sauce here. If you're caught up, like, it's time to start taking action, bro. That's where we are now. So let's get to it. Cool. So now we're on the computer. Let's dive in to what we're going to talk about. First, I want you to follow me on X. I'm trying to get to 2,000 followers. If you can get me to 2,000 followers, I'll love you. Also, follow me on Instagram. I'm trying to get to 3,000 followers on Instagram. If we can get to 2,000 followers on X, 3,000 followers on Instagram, I also post some bangers on both of these platforms. I mean, to be honest, X I just kind of shit post on. But we're going to be posting more bangers like this one. Banger. It's just kind of like motivational stuff, right? But anyways, enough talking. Also, join the community. It's super cheap right now, and it's going up in price in the future. We're also going to be rebranding, and I'm building my entire own platform, and I'm building a variety of other software applications that are coming very soon. So keep an eye out for that. That being said, let's jump into what we're going to talk about. So in this video, we're resetting the life. That's everything we're going to be talking about today. How can we reset our lives, build the initial conditions from first principles to optimize our environment for success? Because if your environment is optimized, it's pretty hard to fail, if I'm being genuinely honest. Like, you're going to fail in the short term, but if you stick to it for a long enough period of time, failing is not an option. Failing is, let's define failing. What is failing? Failing is the choice of not continuing. If you do not quit, you cannot lose, period. If you optimize your environment and you do not quit doing the correct things, you're going to win eventually, no matter what. Unless you are like clinically retarded or something and your IQ is like 45, you're going to win eventually at some level. Maybe you don't become a billionaire, but you're going to have relative success compared to what you once had, right? So let's define, what are we going to do here? So again, we're resetting our initial conditions. We're building upwards from first principles to optimize for success. So now that we have defined the goal, I have laid out a little bit of a framework that we're going to follow to help us do this. Essentially, this is a protocol that I've followed before, and it works quite well. We'll just put it that way. So what is success? Success is nothing but the ability to make good decisions and take actions over time. So over an extended period of time, if you can make good decisions and take actions on those decisions in a good manner over time, you're going to be successful. It's literally that simple. It's very hard to execute. It's very simple in principle, okay? So prudence is the ability to make good decisions. Actions is the ability to just do things. So basically having high agency, and then doing actions with high agency and good decision-making frameworks with a good world model and a developed way of thinking over time is going to make you successful, right? And at that point, like, literally you cannot quit or you cannot lose if you do not quit, right? So the problem is most people just optimize for short-term orgasms. So a lot of people don't spend a lot of time building a solid world model. If you watch this YouTube channel, you're probably not one of those people. But most people don't really spend a lot of time building a solid world model, which is why I've been making the content I have been for the past year and a half, and been doing what I have been doing, is so I can increase my world model and have better prudence in making decisions within the time that we're in. And a lot of people aren't very agentic, which some of you might be pretty agentic, some of you might not be. But this one's also very, very important. Your ability to take actions regardless of outside influences is how I define agency. So a lot of people are able to take actions, but they have to be told by an authority, or if they are going to take action and an authority gets in the way, they don't take the action. A highly agentic person takes actions without persuasion from outside influences. So high agency and prudence, as you can imagine, are a pretty lethal combo. And if you can do those things over an extended period of time, you are relentless and you are unstoppable and you can do whatever the hell you want to. It's that simple. Like, if you look at the most successful people on earth, they're nothing but people with high prudence that take actions. They're highly disagreeable, meaning even if somebody tells them to do something different, they're going to disagree and do their thing anyway. And they commit to those things for decades. That's like, if you look at all of the successful people today, they're no different from you or I besides the things that I just listed, okay? So if we look at default human behavior, and this is how probably 90% of people on Earth operate, unfortunately, especially given the paradigm that we're in today, 90% of people on Earth are basically just scrolling on TikTok, like the average person. If I were to take the average person and I laid out what their day looks like, they wake up, they instantly get on their phone and they start scrolling on social media, and then they go to work, they come home and watch Netflix, they scroll on social media while they're watching Netflix, and they watch the news a little bit, they complain a little bit, they go to sleep. It's like 90% of people, which there isn't anything entirely wrong with that. It's just like, it's hard to reach the goals that you might have if that's what you're doing, right? So, that's what 90% of people do. Human behavior is designed for a world that hasn't existed in thousands of years. Default human behavior. So humans default towards the things that produce the most amount of dopamine with the least amount of friction. So scrolling on TikTok, for example. A lot of dopamine, low friction. It's right on your phone. You open your phone, it's right there. You click on it, you swipe your thumb. That's all you do. Crap tons of dopamine. Not a lot of friction. Your behavior as a human defaults for that action because of evolutionary biology. Again, the universe has designed us for a world that we haven't lived in for thousands of years. Evolution takes longer now, or evolution takes longer to make the human adapt than technology is adapting, right? So let's lay out a scenario. Let's say we have a person who does these 4 things every single day. Let's say Bob watches the TV every day, he plays video games every day, he goes on walks every day, and he tries to work on his business every single day. Over a long enough time horizon, Bob is going to start to default to video games over the other actions. Why? Because it produces more dopamine. But it depends on his energy level, I will say. If he has high energy, he's going to default to video games. If he has low energy at that time, he's going to default to the TV because the friction of playing video games will be too high for the reward of the dopamine. But in some cases, if the dopamine in the game is high enough, regardless of that friction, he will go do it. But the optimal thing that he will optimize for is the intersection of least friction and most dopamine for the energy that he has at that time, right? That's just how the default human behavior is, unless you're extremely consciously aware of it and you design it to be completely different from first principles intentionally, which is what we're about to get into. Okay, and then he'll maybe go on a walk and then he'll build his business. So his priorities are the opposite of what a successful person would have. The extremely successful top 0.1% of humans would have this be the thing that they design themselves to be attracted to, and then this be number 2, this be number 3, and then this be number 4. Complete opposite of Bob. So Jeff, we can call him Jeffy B, Jeff Bezos. Jeffy B's incentive structure, he has designed it by understanding biology, understanding how dopamine works, understanding how human behavior works, understanding the things we're about to dive into, and he leverages that in order to reconstruct an entirely new operating system for himself that allows him to default towards the thing he actually wants to improve at. Okay? So let's play this out. Most people want to either get healthier, they want to get wealthier, or they want to build better relationships. This is the goal for 90% of people, one of these categories. The reason most people can't do one of these things is because the dopamine receptors are completely fried, and they're optimizing the human behavior for the thing that simply stimulates the most amount of dopamine unconsciously. So most people just hit the ratgasm button of video games, right? Or TV or TikTok. That's 99% of people. The successful person realizes this and they say, okay, I realize that dopamine does this, but I also realize that dopamine is something that is relative. Meaning, if I reset my dopamine receptors, if I reset them to baseline 0, anything that I do, no matter what it is going to feel like sex, right? It's going to feel amazing. Even if it's working on my business, anything that's different than staring at a wall is going to feel amazing. So here's the protocol. Let's just put it that way. So most people, they're born, and then over time they start to get into this pattern of dopamine and getting a lot of dopamine and like scrolling on TikTok and like having hedonistic activities and all this stuff, and then eventually they die, right? And they go back to square 0. The successful person, while they're growing up, they'll start to do these things, and then at one point they realize that this is dangerous. If I keep doing these hedonistic activities and I'm not regulating my dopamine, eventually I'm not going to reach my goals because I'm optimizing for things that are not productive and time wasting for short-term pleasure instead of long-term whatever, right? So what the successful person does is they get to a certain point and they're like, oh shit, if I keep this up, I'm going to not get the progress that I want, and I'm just going to keep optimizing for these mindless activities. So what they do is they intentionally do a dopamine fast. So they do a dopamine fast, they reset their dopamine levels, and then they intentionally, after they do that, they intentionally select the things that they re-implement to their daily habits in a way that is very careful. Because if they're not careful, they're going to accidentally start playing TV or start playing video games again, or eat chocolate cake or watch the TV, and then it's going to cause a dopamine spike, and they're just going to start doing that thing all the time again. So what they need to do is be very intentional and then slowly implement things back into it until they're like, okay, I'm running my business. I'm staring at a wall, I'm going on walks, I'm going to the gym, I'm eating healthy, I'm building good relationships with friends and family and my spouse or whatever. And those are the things that I'm spending 90% of my time on. And it feels amazing. It feels like I am playing a video game just like I was before. Like I was living in this time where my main source of dopamine was the video games that I was playing. And it felt amazing. Now that I have reset myself to baseline 0, doing anything feels amazing. Meaning doing my business and doing constructive things with my life feel just as good as playing the video game itself. It feels just as good because dopamine is relative. It doesn't know what's a video game. It doesn't know what's a business. It just knows to secrete whenever it is being stimulated. And whenever it's set to baseline 0, everything stimulates it. So it can realize, or it can be stimulated by the activities that you're doing to a sufficient level for you to be high on life. Instead of high from your games or high from your business or high on drugs, you're high on life. Which is why whenever you talk to extremely successful people, they're super happy, they're very excited, they're high on life, they're super friendly, they're nice to everyone. Again, this isn't true for all of successful people. Some successful people get extremely rich and then they go party a shit ton and they fry their dopamine receptors and they treat people like shit and do all this stuff. Those are oftentimes the people that don't stay successful forever. Or maybe they get like super mega rich and they don't have to care about anything ever again. For most successful people, they're the people who are high on life. They treat people with respect because it gets them what they want. Blah, 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 blah. Compounds and returns. Blah, 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 blah. You get the point. So, all of this to say, here's the protocol. This is the protocol. We just kind of listed out some stuff. This is what we're going to do over the foreseeable future. So, the next 7 days is a pattern disrupt. And then we're going to do a dopamine fast for 48 hours. And then we're going to do meditation for the next 5 to 10 years so that we can be in a state of action taking for the next 5 to 10 years. The pattern disrupt is specifically to get my behavior to kind of be like shocked a little bit. It needs to change, right? The dopamine fast is to put me in a state of malleability. That's what basically these top two things are. I want to be as malleable as possible as a human for the next week or two so that I can reconstruct my incentive structures for myself, my life for myself, to optimize my ability to do the things that I want to do instead of me just autonomously like going and doing research. Because like I'm currently in a state of mind where all my brain wants to do is learn. Like building things and doing things are fun and they're great. That's not what my mind is defaulted towards right now. My mind is default towards gathering information, doing logic puzzles, and getting dopamine from these sources. I need to reset my brain, a hard reset, so that it optimizes for doing just the boring work, period, and making content is part of that. Okay? So dopamine, fast, pattern disrupt, and meditation for the next 5 to 10 years. The meditation is very good at keeping your dopamine regulated. Because whenever you meditate, you are increasing your presence, you're increasing your conscious awareness of the reality that you're currently living in, and it gives you the ability to take a step back and view things a little bit more objectively, and you can consciously decide, okay, this thing I probably shouldn't do because it's going to increase the probability of me watching TV or playing video games or eating cake again and completely ruining my dopamine cycle and causing me to be in this hedonistic place, which is not good for the goals that I have. So meditation gives you an awareness that allows you to make these decisions better. Okay, so once as we do the hard reset, we're going to intentionally redesign the life. So carefully and slowly add back the things that you want to be, that you want to grow at. So maybe you want to go to the gym. Remember, we have health, wealth, and relationships here. Gym or diet, or you want to start a business, or you want to improve your relationships or whatever. Slowly, as we mentioned here, slowly start to implement these things. And then eventually you'll start to kind of get a feel and you'll be like, wow, I feel high on life. I don't need video games. I don't need TV. I don't need all of these things. I feel high on life. And you can start to realize where, okay, if I add more than this, I'm going to be getting into the danger zone. And then I might like dopamine spike again. But if I don't add enough, it's not really the life I want to live. So you can find a balance in there of where it's like, okay, my life is flavorful. It makes me happy. I'm high on life, but I'm also extremely productive. That's what I like to do. Okay? And the next, optimize your environment. This is the biggest one. So the hard reset is huge. Intentionally redesigning your life by slowly implementing things is huge. But the biggest one, if you want long-term, the ability to stick to something long-term and have high prudence and high agency on one particular goal, one thing for an extended period of time, optimizing the environment is huge. So basically, the way this works is you want to eliminate all of the things that are like hazards for dopamine. Sell your Xbox, uninstall your video games, uninstall social media from your phone. Like, I never have social media on my phone because it's honestly the worst time spent ever. Literally, like if I'm making a post, I go on my computer and I make the post and I post it. I don't go on my phone to use social media. I go on the computer to use social media because it keeps it as a work task, right? So activation energy, what is this? Activation energy is eliminating the things that you don't want to do from your environment and then making the things that you do want to do in your environment very easy. As we mentioned up here, humans default towards the thing that produced the most amount of dopamine with the least amount of friction. If you make the things that you don't want to do, but are high dopamine, like video games or scrolling on TikTok or things of this nature, if you make it very hard to do those things, you put a lot of friction between you and that, it's going to be less likely that you do it. And then if you make the things that you do want to improve at extremely easy to do, where you can just wake up and start doing it without even thinking, it's going to make it so you optimize for that naturally. Again, life is all about incentives. You can incentivize yourself to behave you want your way to, excuse me. You can incentivize your own behavior to be the way you want it to be. So if you have a goal and you can't achieve it, it's not because you can't, it's because you haven't incentivized yourself properly. This is a protocol for incentivizing yourself to achieve the things you want to achieve. So activation energy is very important. Eliminate everything and make the things that you don't want to do very hard to do, and make the things that you do want to do very easy. So a quick example. My setup here is like, I love it, right? So I have very good equipment. I have a decent microphone. I have a camera. It's super easy. Like, I literally went out of the way and bought the extra cords and stuff. So my camera plugs directly into my PC, and then it plugs directly into the wall. So I never have to touch an SD card ever. I never have to touch the battery ever. I just come over here and I turn it on. Everything is super like one click over here. Like, I just come over, click the button to turn on the PC, click the button to turn on the monitor, click the button to turn on the camera, click the button to turn on the lights, and I'm rocking and I'm rolling. Like, super easy, super low friction. I just come over here and it's very, very easy to do. On the other hand, the things that I don't want to do, like scroll on social media, I don't have any social media on my phone. I don't buy any junk food. Like, if you want to improve your diet, you just have to never buy the junk food ever, which is hard to do if you're in the grocery store and you're walking down that aisle. Just make sure you're not going towards that aisle is the best advice I can give. Or sign up to like a meal prep company and then never buy any other food ever. Yeah, like sell your Xbox, get rid of everything in the room that you work in that could be a distraction, and design the room that you work in to be very autonomous. Like, I want the room that I'm in to have very easy points of leverage all around me, and all of the distractions are just non-existent, and all of the things I want to do are very easy to access at these very easy points of leverage. And whenever I do something small, a lot happens, and a lot of good things happen. A lot of the things that I want to happen, right? The same thing you can do on your computer. So delete pretty much everything off of your computer. Have like 4 different apps, have like 3 different tabs at most, and that's pretty much it. And then literally have the apps that give you the most leverage and nothing else. Everything else is a waste. Have the apps that give you leverage, eliminate everything else, and take actions from there. Yeah. Activation energy. So that's pretty much the protocol. Hard reset, intentional redesign, slowly trickle things in. Activation energy is the protocol. Hopefully this was insightful to help like understand why humans make decisions the way that we do. Basically this video is kind of like a documentation of like what I'm going to be doing over the next 7 days, 48 hours, and 5 to 10 years. And hopefully this is something that you can get some insight from and you can basically use as well, right? So that being said, I will see you guys in the next video. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you would like more of this type of content or if you want something different.